cell phones turned off so that it doesn't interrupt the meeting this evening. And
before you get to that, can we give the CMC a 5-second warning, CMC? Okay, thanks, Mike.
okay, what's the CMC?
They're the cameras.
Oh, okay.
They're our eyes in the sky.
Okay, I thought that meant something else.
Sorry, Community Media Center.
All righty.
Okay, you're good. Go ahead.
All righty. We'll call this October 25, 2022 meeting of the Historic District Council Commission meeting in order. If we would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and flag our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, opening statement that we have to read before each meeting. The qualifications of the members of the commission, the staff of the commission, and any consultants used are on file with the town and are hereby made part of each and every application heard tonight. The guidelines and procedures adopted by the commission are also made part of each and every application. Each application heard tonight is considered on its own merits and not to be considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. The Historic District Design Guidelines have been adopted by the town of Sykesville in accordance to Article 6B 8-06A of the Maryland Code and follow the recommendations of the United States Secretary of the Interior. The Sykesville Historic Commission follows Robert's Rules of Order with the exception that the chairperson votes. Okay, first order of business that we have this evening. Did everyone have a chance to look over the September 27th meeting minutes? Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes?
No.
Could we have a motion to move, to accept? Second? Alrighty, everyone in favor say aye. All three ayes.
Aye.
Okay. Alrighty.
They were supportive. He wouldn't have shown up if they were.
The first application that we're considering this evening is 22-19, and that's the sandwich board at the sign.
Yes, sir.
At 7543 Main Street. And this one was discussed last month, excuse me. Does anybody have any further comments on this application?
So Mike, I do, if you don't mind. So Richard toured Main Street and very diligently photographed all of the sandwich board signs there, and there are quite a few that he noted that have not come for approval and that are non-compliant, that I can tell, with the guidelines. And based on the conversation at the last meeting, there's also Planning Commission going through a sign ordinance right now to establish a set distance on the sidewalk that has to be a clearance. And then the guidelines updates that we're gonna go through, what I would recommend is to allow all of the signs to remain in place until the Planning Commission and the new guidelines. And then we'll go through, hit them all at once in a nice way, and clear out anything at that point that is non-compliant with the guidelines.
Is there any intent to notify the people that are non-compliant at the moment that the guidelines are being redone?
Yes, so
and
we
they're
will,
not compliant currently?
that second part could be maybe. We'll definitely have lots of public input in the new guidelines. It's got to be an ordinance, so there's going to be a public hearing before the town council about it. And I'm sure before then, Joe and I will go to the merchant meetings and explain everything that's going to be changing, or actually just everything in general with the guidelines.
Okay.
So do we need to contact people who have signs at this time?
At this time, no. I would say wait until the new guidelines are in place. That way we don't tell them one thing and then a year later come back and tell them something different.
Okay, how about this? How about the sign on 220219?
I would say that would fall under the rest of them. I would grant him permission until the new guidelines are.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because I looked at the sign, it's inside the building.
Mhm.
When I looked at it, it looks okay, but it doesn't comply, so we've got to get our ducks in a row in this.
Right. And there's not much point in getting everything set and then changing everything again.
Right. Okay, do we need a motion on that?
I would say yes, for temporary approval for all of the signs currently placed on Main Street.
Who would like to be the person to give the first motion on that?
Well, I move that, I don't have the case number in front of me.
2219.
2219.
2219, that we give temporary approval for the sign usage until such time as zoning and the council, what are they doing? Are they gonna set policy?
So the zoning that's going through now is going to set the distance required, the clearance requirements. And then our new guidelines, we have to go through that whole process. That will be an ordinance or like a local law. But there's a whole process to get through that.
Until such time as the new
Guidelines are in place.
guidelines are in place that we approve this particular sign and all other signs currently used in this city.
Thank you. Can there be a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Easy enough. Thank you. That
Okay.
makes my life easy.
Okay.
And I just want to let you know that the sign that's over at this Firehouse Creamery was not the one that I was thinking about. I was like, that's not the one that I remember.
Well, I went up there and I went to the restaurant, and the restaurant is all plastic. The creamery, plastic.
Yep.
I mean, there's like 12, 13 signs in the city I didn't realize. And I just started taking pictures of all of them, and over half of them are
Not in
not
compliant.
compliant.
Where was that one that looked like it was dirty and falling apart?
That's at the restaurant, 577.
Really?
Whatever. I don't know, there's a placard board there, and it's waterlogged and falling apart.
I think it's the next one there.
There may be another one, I don't know.
No, that
I was just trying to get a sense of what's in the city and what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were all, because I got your email too, and I was looking at that. And that one, I thought, man, where is this?
Well, there's no sense, I think we just shelve it until we have guidelines, and we just address all of them at that time.
Very good. And a
You
second,
mean that one, Mike?
excuse me?
You mean that one?
No, it was the very last one on the,
Very last one. Just because I'm curious which one you
Very last
mean.
one.
I guess it was the very last one.
No.
I don't see it on there now, so.
Okay. I left it off accidentally, but yeah. There's some good signs on Main Street.
Oh,
It's gonna be
yeah.
good to,
There's lots of signs on there.
lots of signs. It'll be good to get a list of all of them and get them all in compliance and approved. That can be.
It's funny how you drive by Main Street all the time and you see these signs and it doesn't dawn on me, they're not in compliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And are you going to contact the people down at the fire hall about that?
Yes, I'll let them know temporary approval.
Okay, and we did have a second on that, correct?
We did.
Okay. All righty, the next one we have is 2022-21. This is for an awning at 734 Oklahoma Avenue at the French Twist. Is anybody from French Twist here this evening?
I am.
Okay, very good.
Stand up.
Yes, please.
Okay,
It's 732, Oklahoma.
right, correct. I
Okay.
misread it.
I'm Tina. I'm the general manager. Elen is in Greece,
Oh, really?
so I'm here. She wants to put a awning up. It's going to extend both sides of the steps. It's not going to go over the steps, and it would be the same exact color as the signs on the side of the building. So it's like a deep, intense blue.
sign.
So it's gonna come out to cover the, next to the steps?
Yes, it's not gonna go over the steps, it's gonna go on each side of the steps.
Okay.
To cover the tables away from the elements, and it gets really hot in the summer, the tables get extremely hot and people can't sit there.
I noticed from your application that I believe in inclement weather, it will retract itself.
Yes. It'll have a wind sensor, and if it's too windy, it'll retract itself.
And what is the composition of your awning?
I believe it's vinyl. Because it's waterproof, but I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't say it on my notes. It just says, where does it say that?
We had a sample here, didn't we?
We had the book.
Oh, the book.
Oh, in the book. Yeah, I do not have that
I
book.
believe it was the same type of material as sunbrella fabric.
Umbrella,
Yeah, it's like that thick
that's the fabric.
umbrella fabric.
Like yes.
Yes. I don't know how to describe it really.
I would assume,
Yes.
I don't know, I didn't look at the book, but I would assume that if it's retractable like umbrella, that the mechanism is steel. I don't know how you support something like that unless it's.
Yeah, I'm looking here. I don't, it says motor and remote control.
Sherry, do you still have the?
Yeah, we can go grab it so we're not reading sideways.
Yeah.
Make more sense.
And when your awning is down, like so when it's shading these folks from the sun, how is somebody like 7 foot tall gonna be able to come down the steps and go around without getting hit by the awning?
I believe so. I'm looking for the measurements here.
It's not going to go straight across. You're gonna have a
It's gonna-
break.
Yes, it's not gonna go, so it's not gonna go over the steps. It's gonna go
Right.
on each
It's
side.
gonna be at the top of the porch, and so it's gonna be like at least.
Yeah, it's gonna be at the soffit. It's gonna be hung at the soffit and then come down on a slight angle. So I believe someone 6, 7 foot could easily. I
The
don't
word
have
that we
a
were looking for, Carrie, is canvas.
Canvas, thank you.
canvas.
That thick fabric stuff.
Well, it says acrylic fabrics, which is not canvas.
Acrylic fabric.
What the book says acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say it on my
Well, I read the application in that and I didn't see
Okay.
it, but let's see, it
In
says,
the industry for umbrella, acrylic fabric is just about the only material that they use.
Would it be the same type of fabric that they would use for like a sailboat sail?
Yes. Well, sailboat, no.
Okay, that's something different.
It's more like what they use for, it would be like an umbrella or outside furniture.
And that's an acrylic fabric?
that's what it says, acrylic, which is,
Umbrella is like, and she says it's like some different brand.
so that's the question, because that's not canvas.
Do they have a picture of the fabric? Is it reflective?
They have many pictures of fabric.
If it's not reflective,
No, it's not.
It's not going to be reflective. It's going to be a deep blue. I don't think it's going to be reflective at all.
that's one of the concerns with the HDC, that any type of application that you would put on there would not be reflective. So I think that was what fabric, whatever, is really not the concern. It's the reflectiveness of whatever.
Reflective
that
of
is.
like a light or
Yeah.
You know, shiny.
yeah. Okay.
The material is not gonna be reflective. The frame, I don't know.
I believe it's hidden. The frame.
There's a picture of where it would be mounted to. It would be mounted right
in
under
the
the
soffit.
soffit.
Yeah, it looks like, The part that would be visible is the part that's gonna be mounted under the soffit. The rest of the stuff is underneath the canopy, the awning.
The, I don't know what other products are on the market.
Does anybody recall the folks who had the awning over at the new townhomes, what that was? Was that canvas or was that acrylic?
I don't remember.
I don't recall that either.
I don't think that they make this kind of stuff in canvas. I just,
Canvas might be too heavy.
I do upholstery and furniture and umbrellas and stuff like that, and I have never seen a fabric that you can work with in this way and use in this way that retracts. Canvas is way too heavy. It wouldn't work.
So the only type that they could use is the type that they're putting before the board.
Somebody can show me a different kind, I'd be open to it, but I don't think so. I think that-
What's the question? Is there a debate on the material being used, or?
Yeah,
Well, it's the
Well-
guidelines.
well, there's nothing in the, is there anything in the guidelines about material?
Mm-mm.
Yes,
What's it say?
it says, I just read it in here. Using canvas duck as the awning material is recommended.
Does it say what's not recommended?
Using metal, wood, fiberglass, plastic, or other inappropriate materials for awnings.
I'm curious, what does the State Farm have, their awning?
Are you talking about at the firehouse here, or?
No, the State Farm on the corner of Oklahoma and,
Good question.
Street.
That is a good
They have
question.
I think that's canvas.
How about the new one at the fire hall? They just installed that, what, about 3 months ago?
Mhm. Not even.
Let me find it for you.
But I agree with Richard, I don't think you can get one of those retractable ones that are canvas. I think they have, or, that are canvas, I think you have to have another material for it.
Well, what I'm saying is, the issue is, if we have guidelines that say one thing and that cannot be found anymore or cannot be used anymore, then we need to address that. So if we're gonna approve, if we're gonna say, I mean, that's what's in our guidelines, so how do we deal with something that's in our guidelines but doesn't exist anymore? That's the question that I have.
Yeah.
That was the reason I asked about the townhomes, because they were retractable.
Right. I don't remember what the material was.
I don't either.
I don't think it was brought up.
I probably.
Well, it was I think the material was in the application. Why is that not coming up?
I don't know if I can go back and forth.
I couldn't figure out why I couldn't search anything. It's because I'm not connected to the internet.
I do that all the time.
Why isn't it working?
I think that with the awning over at Warfield, one of the issues that you guys had a concern about was the frame material, whether or not it was reflective, if it was vinyl.
And also being attached to the building. That was one of the other issues.
Right, right, and where it was gonna be attached. I don't remember ever discussing any type of
I don't think
material.
so.
No, I'm clicking on guess and it's asking me for a,
Password?
It's the zip code twice.
the zip code twice.
Yes.
What's it say about the fabric attachment right there?
I'm trying to. Oh, it just says fabric. Oh, let's see. Oop, too far.
Now, Richard, you're familiar with fabric, so this acrylic, is it like an applique that's on material that makes it waterproof? What is it?
Oh, it's a heavier duty weave.
What was the date of
and
that-
it
that
has a water
application?
resistant coating.
This one is.
It has a coating, it's not within the fabric.
Oh, geez.
May 10th.
No,
May 10th.
I think it's
Oh,
in the
wow.
fabric.
Okay.
I might be outside of my knowledge realm at this point. It's, you know, when I'm working with material, that's what I'm working with. And that's like a heavy duty,
See, looking at the picture, I would call that canvas.
canvas type
Yeah.
material, yeah. But this particular canvas, they say you can choose between Tempo Test and Sunbrella performance fabric.
That must be where I got Sunbrella from. That's why that word stuck in my head.
So is that the name of the fabric? Either one of those?
Yeah, the mechanism is a powder coated steel. That's really the only thing that could hold that kind of. And that is low luster and it's not reflective in terms of the structure. So in terms my
I don't see any mention of that material, do you?
No, I did not. Just that it was put in by something called Baltimore Canvas Group, but nothing about the actual specific material. At the firehouse, old firehouse building here.
I don't think it was brought up with that either. I don't believe. I think it was just mentioned awning.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about clearance for that one since it was right on the sidewalk.
Mhm.
Well, you see my point. I mean, if we decide that, we do have discretion to say that if this is not the standard anymore, then, because the standard was canvas.
Right.
Well, I'm not an expert on.
You're more of an expert than we are.
It's a heavy duty external fabric that
It would be nice to
is
see
water
a sample of the
resistant.
fabric. And we have these
To me,
kinds
it's the standard in the industry.
because I'm sure they have that.
It was mentioned in the application that as fabric, but it didn't specify what. Fabric to me, I always means something that's woven.
It is.
Oh, is that the definition? Like if it's acrylic fabric, then it's woven acrylic
I don't
or
know.
something like that.
It has acrylic fiber in it, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is how it becomes water resistant.
Right, right. Right.
So, does anybody have any type of motion on this application?
I have a question. The only thing that hasn't been brought up yet was, as the awning is out, what's the height between the awning and the sidewalk?
Is that a public sidewalk?
No, it's a private patio area.
It's a private patio area. Does that make a difference? Because I know on a public sidewalk, it has to be a certain size, but does that apply to a private?
I don't know.
I don't think
The
it-
sidewalk in front of the French Twist, is that public?
I don't believe so.
I think it's private.
They have it all fenced off for their seating area.
And I believe it's 7 foot. Is that where you're talking, from the height? At least that's this diagram that I don't know if you have this diagram,
No, it wasn't provided.
so.
Well, I would say that
Is it?
Please.
if it's at the top of the porch, and then there's a stair that's not covered down to the ground floor, when you're talking about the tables that it'll be covering, you've got to be like 10 feet.
Unless it comes down at an angle.
It's on a
Then
slight
comes
slope.
down to that
Slight
big.
slope, okay.
Yeah.
They're-
It has to because of the roof, the eave.
My concern is the fabric,
yeah.
because it doesn't fit within our guidelines, and we're gonna have to make a decision on that. I would love to see a sample of it, because that would help.
Would she have a sample of it?
She doesn't, but I don't know that she can get one.
I would think that the company would
Would
Oh, yeah, I'm
get
sure
one?
you can
have
get
a
fabric.
sample.
So is there a motion to table this till the next meeting, and by that time we should have a sample?
I would say yes, because I would wanna see the reflectivity of the material, and we'd have to make a decision on whether we're accepting acrylic fabric rather than canvas, because it's not canvas. And that's very clearly our guidelines, but there's nothing to say that we can't.
Do you want to make that a motion?
I motion in regard to application 2022-21 with the canopy awning over the French twist, that we be provided a sample of the material, of the acrylic fabric, and that we'll table this until such time as we get that sample.
Is there a second? Second.
Oh, I'm willing to give it a second.
Okay.
There's only two of
Okay,
us.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, tabled
you.
until we have a sample of the fabric.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All righty, see, the last one we have here this evening is application 2022-22, and this involves the property at 7318 Springfield Avenue. It's for siding, window, shutter replacements at that residence. And we had a very, very detailed application, so not a lot of questions.
Should I sit down?
No, you're good.
So, I'm requesting a look at really 4 different areas at the house. I'd like to perhaps take them individually. So, the windows would really be the first area that I'd like to have us take a look at. What I'm looking to have approval for is really to replace all the windows with the same 2/2 aesthetic that exists today in all the windows. I know the sample that I've shown here has a different grid pattern, but the ones that I would be using are the W2500s. I talked to Mr. Gossage, who has just ordered several for a project going on Main Street. And so I figured, well, that's probably a good starting point. If it looks like those have gotten through this process, I'd like to see if I can't put those forward for my house. So they are all wood. In order for me to start anything with the exterior, I have to begin with the windows. Lead time on the windows, not that it's this committee's concern, but it's 12 weeks from time of order.
In your literature, you mentioned that wood was treated with some type of chemical so that it lasts longer. I don't know what the name of that was, but they are wood windows.
They are wood windows, yeah.
And you were considering moving or changing the facade windows?
Yeah, so thank you for that. I've got also just another handout here, if I may approach the committee.
Do you know what the original configuration was?
There wasn't, there, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
So-
I'm just,
So, hi. This I'm gonna talk to in just a minute. The,
Thank you.
I can't speak for the original.
No, good. Oh, okay, thank you.
What I can say is that as you look at this, the window on the far left, was originally, at least at one time, part of a wraparound porch. So that left section there, where you've got that sort of that medium-sized window, didn't exist. The porch wrapped around, so they actually put that section in there. And if you look at the attachments that I provided, you can kind of see I took a picture from the inside of that addition that they put in, and you can see the original lap board that's in there. But in terms of what the original is, I can't say. What I can say is that it's very clear that left section was added on, and I'm very happy to stay with that. I'm just looking to try to improve the symmetry.
That smaller window that's next to the medium one, the smallest,
Yeah.
what room is that in, or is that the foyer where it goes up to the steps?
It's the staircase, yeah. So if you walk down the staircase, it's right there at the staircase.
Do you think that was original?
I won't know absolutely for sure until I pull all the siding off, but there has been so many changes and I can look at the back to kind of see, and I know my neighbor has probably seen some of this too, but you can see that they've made a lot of modifications in terms of where the windows were. I intend to keep all the other windows, their placements, their sizes. It's just this front section, and it's really just the bottom section that I'm looking for the committee to take a look at and perhaps authorize.
So the right-hand side is what you would like it to look like, your end version.
So all three windows would be different. So the two on the left would be just one window, and then the two on the right would have to be sized correctly. And the door would stay about where it is.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about the change that could possibly be made?
well, I know that the guidelines don't recommend changing windows or anything, basically. I mean, if we had an idea what if the original arrangement were different, then that I would think that, oh, you could put it back to what it was originally, but it is an odd placement of that little window.
Well, in my reading of the guidelines, they do talk about symmetry, and so long as you're maintaining the look and feel, and you're trying to improve the symmetry of the facade, that is a recommended approach. And I just The only way that I would absolutely know for sure is if I pull all the siding off, and then I'm exposed to the elements, and
And you have to order the windows.
yeah.
Well, it says not recommended, changing the location or size of windows and window openings, particularly those located on the front facades.
I have a history here. I've known Ed for 30 years, the previous owner. He's right. That one window that's on the front, all the way to the left, was not there.
Oh, okay.
It was an add-on when they created a room, which at one point was a walkway into a door that went into the second door that went into the house, which is a lot like our house, which is a wraparound porch that goes back, and then there's the door.
Okay.
They closed that off.
Oh, so
And
they
created-
enclosed that area there.
And the one thing I can tell you about that window that's all the way to the left is that it is non-conforming to the rest of the windows on the front of the house.
Okay.
It's an odd size. It doesn't look right.
The window on the left.
Yeah.
So is the window on the bottom right is a different size than the window above it? It's odd.
Yeah, there are 3 different sizes on the first level. I call them the medium, small, and large.
So the large window on the bottom right is a different size than the 2 on the second floor?
It is, yeah.
It's a different size?
Yeah.
That is also the case in my house
It's the case. in
next
yours.
door. The windows on the first floor are not the same size as the windows on the second floor.
What year is your house?
And none of the windows on the
1987.
first floor are the same size.
Is that?
None of the windows on the first floor are the same size, or from the front.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Are you saying that the proposed thing on the right, that's your proposal, right?
Yeah, the one on the right would be my proposal, yeah.
Okay, those 3 windows across the front on the first level?
Yeah.
Are they different?
My intention is to have them all the same size.
They are all the same size?
The 3 that are shown in that elevation would be 3 of the same size windows.
Okay. So the original, the one on the left, which is the modified construction, is the one that has 3 different windows of different sizes. There's a
Yes.
big one,
The one that currently exists on the left.
yes.
So is the bottom window on the right, is that an original window?
Bottom window on.
The current arrangement, right there.
I can't tell you.
So I think that's the question. I mean, obviously the one on the left is a new or non-compliant or whatever, so that's not really a problem, but the other 2, that little one is so weird looking though.
I don't remember seeing an older house that has a window in the stairwell.
Yeah, it's just a weird,
And I'm trying to Google.
I'm wondering if the one on the right is
1907
original
houses.
though.
But this is the way it is today. In order for us to know that right one was the original, I'd have to pull off the whole front of it. So
Yeah.
I think what I would ask for consideration, if you can agree that it makes sense to replace the 2 on the left, that perhaps it makes sense for me to just continue with that whole first level to make it look like it makes sense.
And I understand that sentiment, but the idea is to preserve history. So if someone put a bizarre thing together in a house 100 years ago, then, I mean, that's the original configuration of the house, even if it doesn't make sense to us today.
But it wasn't, and I think that's part of the conversation here, is that it's clear that there have been changes that have occurred over time, and I think that along the way somebody approved them or somebody thought that they were a good idea, But I mean, we can go and take a look at it, and I've actually got a picture of my PowerPoint here as part of the attachments. That left side didn't even exist.
Oh, so you have a picture.
Yeah,
I'll put it on
it's
the
attachment 1.
bottom. Attachment 1 I have. So you don't have a picture of it any time in the past, these are.
You know,
these are-
what that picture is showing is the conversation that Richard was having, which is, you know, that was part of a porch at one point.
Yeah, and I can see on one of the pictures where they changed the shape of the windows on the side. As you can see where they filled in the siding.
That's the back of the house.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, you pull that off and you can see that they obviously did modifications to the windows in the past. Put in modern windows.
Your proposal is to change all windows around the entire house.
I'd like to replace as many as I can afford. And that's why I set up to 15. I may be up to 20 at this point, but it's all the other windows I'm just going to keep the exact same style, size, etc.
Right.
Richard, you mentioned that little tiny window did not belong there at one time. Is that correct?
I don't know about that window.
The one on the left.
Yeah, on the
Well, the
left-hand
one
side.
that's- Are you talking about the little tiny one, the one that's set in and up
Right, the one that's behind the post. There's the,
directly behind the post?
right.
I can't comment on that.
Does your,
That goes on the inside, that looks like that's the bottom of the stairway.
It is, yeah.
And I just know that the one on the extreme right
The-
is the total add-on.
You mean the extreme left?
Mm.
I mean left, yeah.
Yeah, that one's an add-on.
That would be a complete add-on because that whole structure there was an add-on. It was a porch.
And we don't have any pictures in the past of this house, do we?
I even contacted the museum today, or
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah,
They
nothing.
said, "You're welcome to come look through the books."
Oh,
There's somebody apparently did a survey back in the '60s and actually started to try to catalog
oh, wow,
a lot of photographs, but they're not cataloged yet.
wow. That would be real helpful to this committee if we could see a picture of it where it was before. I'm kind of inclined to think that right window is probably original. What do you guys think?
The right one, I would say, is.
Yeah. The other two I think are iffy, but I think that right one,
Yeah, I can't, yeah.
Trying to picture it without the addition.
yeah, that little window is just weird.
I know it's strange.
Well, and there's no telling if the door was in a different place too.
Oh, yeah, that's
You
true.
know, because that door staying where it is.
Is it off center or is it in the center?
It's
Slightly off.
it's off center.
Well, the foyer's there, off center too.
I guess you don't have this here.
Well, we have this.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I included this with the
Yeah, I have that.
attachments. You have that?
Mhm.
Yeah, so you have this one. So it shows the front of the house,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's that add-on there.
Richard, is your house similar to this?
Fairly similar, although I will tell you something. If you look at my house today, I wouldn't comply. Because they did the same thing to my house as you're talking about here. When we bought our house, we had a sliding glass door on the front, a sliding glass door on the side off the dining room, and a sliding glass door in the kitchen off the back.
Wow.
We have replaced the sliding glass door in the kitchen, and we've replaced the sliding glass door in the front with a wood door that has glass on the sides. But was that door original? Or how it was, the opening, was it the same as a sliding glass door, 72 inches long? I doubt it.
Yeah, because people have done multiple things over the years. But I guess my feeling is our intention is to preserve as much as the original composition. And here it's hard to tell. We know that the left window is not original. That's not a problem. That little window just looks so odd. Even when I take off that addition on the side, it doesn't look like that would have been a window there.
It doesn't
Or
look
if it
like
was a window, it wouldn't have had shutters. You know, like you might have said, well, we want to put some light at the bottom of the stairs, but it wouldn't have looked like that.
Maybe a porthole. I've
Yeah,
seen
I mean, it
portholes
just
on
doesn't,
the
that window
steps.
doesn't make any sense to me.
It almost looks like there wouldn't be any corner, like the shutter.
Yeah, because if you
sticking
take
out
off the side of the house, then that window is like smack dab up against the side of the house.
So what you were trying to do is, if you're going to keep that room and not tear it off, and you're gonna put a window there, you're trying to create a situation where the windows across the front of the house are all equal looking and has conformity to it.
Yep. I think it's in keeping with the style of the time. I guess I'm trying to un-Frankenstein it.
I sympathize with that, I really do.
Yeah, because that's what
My
we've been
dilemma
doing.
is that if we know that something or suspect that something is original in the original place or the original style, even if it's not symmetrical, because that wasn't necessarily the goal of people that build houses, to be symmetrical, then that would have to stay, or I would recommend that that stayed. But I don't know what's original here.
Yeah, and when you add in the fact that that door might not be placed where that door was, you're really scrambling the whole thing.
Yeah, they could have moved around the interior walls, we don't know. The door would have to be there if this was the original orientation of the house, because that's where the foyer is. So the foyer's not in the middle of the house. But that's a big family room in an old house. And a master bedroom with a bath. So this is what it looks like now?
No, that's
Oh, this is what you want to do?
that's what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I grabbed that picture to kind of show you that if there's any conversation about moving the door, I really can't move the door because it would kind of put me right in the center of the family
So
room.
what's behind the door now in its current location?
It's wide open.
Oh, everything's open.
Yeah.
I see.
And again, I don't know what it looked like originally, but you walk right in and it's just a big open area.
Wow, that probably wasn't like that when the house was built. Pretty sure. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, we don't have anything to fall back on to know what the original was, that's the problem.
Right.
But it looks nice the way it's set up there with the windows of equal size and everything on the bottom.
And we know the two windows on the left are probably not original.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all feel that way.
The what?
The ones on the two on the left are probably original.
No, yeah.
We know for sure the one on the left is not, and then that little one doesn't make any sense in its placement if
No.
there was no room there.
No, it doesn't look like there'd be enough room to even put a window there.
Yeah.
Before an addition is put on. So,
I mean, I can add to the confusion, and that is that do you mind if I just tell them a little bit about your house?
I mean, you know it better than I do.
Well, there is a covered up window.
Where's that?
It's inside the house, about halfway up those stairs,
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
which would have been to
Like
the
a-
outside at one point.
Well, so I will come back for that
on the
one.
side of the house?
Yeah, it's an
Because
oval.
remember, this powder room is gone.
It's an oval. It's a big oval that as you walk up the
Ah.
staircase, I intend to come back for that one.
Stained glass in there or something?
It looks like, at least in my family room, it looks like Ed had a whole grid thing that I guess he was looking at maybe putting something up there, but I mean, I think it should go back. I just think it's a beautiful,
Because
beautiful
that was
treatment.
probably the original light for the staircase,
Probably.
right?
Yeah.
Then they just put it in the front. Yeah, I think that's probably an add-on then. It's just awkward.
But the floor plan of the house, I mean, you know, it's just. This looks like as good as anything. Because there just are no. This whole thing is about gutted.
Yeah, it sounds like they took a lot of the
And
historic.
he's designing it to fit his own sensibilities and needs.
But I am looking to preserve some of the historical features. The shutters we haven't gotten to yet, but we will. I'm gonna install the shutters with shutter dogs and make them workable, usable shutters. I'm going to try to bring back some of the shake that's been covered up many times over inside.
Well, what do you guys think about the windows? Let's start with that.
Aesthetically, I think that this is a good compromise.
I agree with you.
Okay.
If I were trying to recreate in that property, I probably would not come up with anything that would be a whole lot different.
Well, if we had historical photographs that said it was this way at one point in time, but we don't have that, as far as I know.
I've got one photograph that shows the side of the old parsonage, the side of my house, and a little bit of the side of your house. It's one old photograph that I can show you. And it doesn't add a lot to our knowledge, except for the fact that you could see that it was a porch and that room wasn't there.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we're in agreement that the two left windows are not original. So changing that out, and I'm not sure about the right window, but I think probably that arrangement is pretty symmetrical. And since we don't have that information that right window is original, it's very hard to tell. I would agree with that.
I mean, he's trying to recapture symmetry in a room that wasn't there before.
Right.
So, you know, that's,
So shall we do each piece separately?
you mean windows and then go to something else?
Yeah.
Yeah, the application
Yeah.
is separate,
Okay.
yeah.
He's got it broken down in
All
at least
right.
5 different categories. Okay, boss, what's next?
Okay, so the next one is the siding and the trim. I think if you look at the attachment, attachment 2, you can see where some of the siding has been taken off. This was taken off by the previous owner, which in other areas, I've got some other exposed areas where I'm in a bit of a forced, like I have to do something. And this is not a usable siding, at least with the people that I've reached out to get an inspection and evaluation on. So the recommendation was to pull all the aluminum off and then put foam board over top of the existing Dutch lap, and then go over top of that with an approved siding. And so I'm coming before you guys today with a hardy plank. I will do I'm going to try to keep as close to the same reveal as we have with the Dutch lap, because I think that continues to sort of maintain the older aesthetic. I will use the same corner treatments that you see all over the place, which are going to be between 3.5 and 4 inches. And then I'll trim out all the windows, basically the way that you see the windows section. So that's my intention.
Hardy plank is an approved product.
It is, or?
It is.
Okay. So in addition to the lap board, I'm also wanting to treat the gables, so the front and the 2 side gables. The house's current facade shows 1 gable with the scallop. Underneath that, it's actually shake, and on the other gable, it's shake. So I would like to go back to the shake, as I've kind of in this rendering here shows an example of what we would like to do with the gables.
And what would the gables be made from? Is that going to be hardy board?
It will be, yeah. I've given a sample. I was looking between a staggered shake and then a straight shake. I think I've gone with a straight shake because that's what I see mostly in the town is the straight line shake.
Okay, and you need to discuss your, does anybody have any questions on the siding before we move along?
I just had one clarification. You had submitted a drawing of something, and it was a siding, it was a vinyl siding that was Dutch lap, I believe? Was that supposed to be for something?
And it was in the application? Or was it in this?
It was like a sample, and I was kind of confused as to where you might would have used it.
So in sort of the supporting material, is that where you think it may have been?
Let's see here.
Product sheet, maybe?
But if you're not gonna use it, then I'm okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be the, so with the corners and the trim, I'm gonna go with AZEK. So I'm not gonna do any vinyl.
And you mentioned that you're going to have your usable shutters there. When I was reading through your proposal, does it say they're plastic shutters? Is that what I read?
So these are, well, right now I'm looking at a PVC shutter that I would paint, and that's what I would be proposing, a PVC shutter.
And as I recall, our guidelines say that the shutter should be placed with wood, a wood shutter. Help me here, guys.
I'm looking. Looking.
As far as I know that.
see, there they are. I know I read it somewhere.
But you mentioned your shutters are gonna be workable.
Mhm.
Where is that? I read it too. I read the shutter thing. Recommended. Here it is. Well, it doesn't say it in the recommendation for the shutters. It just says if original shutters are missing or need to be replaced, their design and material should be based on documentary or photographic evidence. So probably were not originally PVC. Is that what you were thinking of?
Yeah, so would he be able to use PVC then?
Well, I'd have to look in the guidelines because it says here
That's exactly word for word.
their design and material should be based on documentary or photographic evidence. It doesn't specifically mention wood, but I assume that they were originally made of wood.
Right.
What are the ones on there now?
Plastic.
Plastic.
They're like, I don't, you may know the history there, but I don't know where they
Mine are
came from.
plastic.
Huh?
Mine are plastic.
I went over and I knocked on them. I mean, they're paper thin. It just kind of shocked me.
I mean, I've owned the house for 30 years, and when I bought it,
They were plastic.
he's talking about using usable shutters with a hinge.
Mm-hmm.
I have the old hinges still on in my windows. The shutters are gone, and they were replaced with plastic.
Well, like we said, there's a lot of stuff that's been done to these houses over the years.
So I'm feeling like, should I just not vote on this one? I feel awkward at that point, you know? Because,
Well, was the Historic District Commission around when you replaced your shutters?
I didn't replace the shutters.
Oh, no, when they were replaced, it wasn't around. The Historic District Commission, I mean, the Historic Guidelines.
I would
were not around.
assume,
Yeah,
like I say, I came in 92, so I don't know how old the
The
historic.
commission was established in like 97,
Yeah.
I
98?
was thinking 98.
Yeah, so
yeah.
So I
it's
was,
probably well before the guidelines.
And you didn't do any changes, so you're grandfathered in until you start making changes.
yeah. So he's in a situation where he's looking at something that's the same as mine. Okay, this is my gut feeling about it. He's willing to put in the effort and the time to create a usable shutter. Let's face it, folks. If you were to put wooden shutters, historically correct wooden shutters on the house, you know what it would cost you? I mean, if somebody can come up with a grant, you know, I don't know what we're doing here when it comes to that kind of thing.
Does Hardy Becker make a product for shutters?
And I'm not familiar with Hardy back.
The Hardy, what you're doing with your...
No, they don't. But I've been looking at a lot of specialty companies, and the best ones seem to be made of PVC. And they paint like wood. They look like wood. They're heavy like wood. They're not inexpensive. They are not cheap.
Ours are plastic since 1977, they're put on.
Yeah. The reality, we're just dealing with reality here. We're either Williamsburg, where we get grants of hundreds of thousands of dollars, or, you know, you can't make changes like this, even if it's an upgrade, because you're way out of the ballpark on money. Wood is just, I don't know.
Well, we're kind of back to what we were talking about our guidelines,
Yeah.
because we're getting bogged down by our guidelines. So, what should we do in this situation? This gentleman has done far and beyond any proposals that I've ever seen. They've all been exacting, and he impressed me with replacing round gutters with round gutters. So, at this juncture, we could, if somebody could put a motion on the windows, the siding and trim, and see, we can't do the shutters unless we want to say the plastic, which so what's the opinion of everybody else? What do y'all think? Because you have to make the first motion.
I think we have a problem when we want to disregard the guidelines. The reasons are very valid. There's no mechanism to do it, though. I know that if we make a decision, then it doesn't really mean that the next person comes along will get the same. But in reality, that would have to be the way it was. So without having some kind of mechanism to say, here's the guidelines, it's very clear what the guidelines are. But it is unreasonable in some cases because it would be especially with the cost of wood right now,
Right.
it'd be astronomically expensive to do it that way. So how do we move forward when the guidelines clearly say one thing? If we want to make a change, or we want to say, I mean, we have made changes on materials for siding, because now we have approved materials for siding. And I think we'd have to do the same thing in this situation and in the canopy, the awning situation, and say, this is also acceptable. But we don't have that right now. So that's my conundrum, is that to make a decision that's clearly against the guidelines seems counterproductive, because what is our goal? Our goal is to have as much historic presence as we can, but I don't see where there's a mechanism to make a change like this. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I haven't been on the commission all that long, but I have heard this commission discuss the fact that when you're making substantial changes to structures, and the historic products of a building are no longer available, you just have to use alternative product. Now, I will acknowledge that, you know, a PVC shutter is a PVC shutter.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you, we're kind of, in that sense, you're kind of.
Between a rock and a hard place.
I think so. I think it's a difficult.
Is there a way that you can table the shutters? Because by the time you get to the shutters, we can research to see if Maryland Historic,
How they're dealing with it,
right,
yeah.
if they have an alternative that they are approving as historic. Do you have to have that approval tonight? Because you can have your windows, you can have your siding.
I've got some time on that. No, I don't. But if I may, I'm reading this and, you know, it's not specifying the material that the shutter must comply with. It's just, what it's saying is it must be based on documentary or photographic evidence. Well, I can go around the town today and photograph plastic shutters.
That's not what it means though. It means the historic photographs. So if we go back, a lot of times we do have photographs and we can go back to a photograph that's 100 years old and look at it and say, okay, this was the arrangement, this was the original. So I think that, I'm not trying to yank your chain or anything.
No, I understand. Your comment is that, hey, we want to really, we have guidelines because, you know, they were important at least at one time. And I know as we're trying to figure out a way to change and to adapt, we still have to go back to the guidelines. And all I was just kind of, I don't know, thinking about is that it doesn't necessarily specify the material. It doesn't say wood, so perhaps there's some wiggle room, because how much credit do you give to the historical components that I'm presenting here versus the actual material of the shutter itself?
I absolutely understand what you're saying.
As a matter of fact, if you read that carefully, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, my point was, there are other parts in the guidelines that say if you take the siding off, then you have to go back to what's under the siding.
Mm-hmm.
So the intent is to keep it as historically accurate as the original house was. And I am very sympathetic to the cost issues, so I think the idea of going back and doing a little bit of research as to how, this is the second time this has come up tonight, in that the guidelines say very clearly that you're supposed to use this material, but this material may not exist anymore. The same thing with the signs on the street. So it's the same situation, that we need to know what we can and cannot do in a reasonable manner, because what you don't want to do is go down the slippery slope where now we're all vinyl siding. And so this is not new to this committee, because I've been here for a long time and I've sat in on many discussions about this. So I would like more guidance on how we make a decision like this, because it's clearly not what the guidelines recommend.
The intent of the guidelines is to keep the house the original. In 1907, they did not have PVC, so
Right.
that's not original, we know that. But with that, there's the cost factor, and there's a factor where you can't get a product that you can use. I mean, I don't know, slate roofing, it's gonna cost you like $1 gazillion if your house originally had slate. So we're aware that there's a cost issue, or that product is no longer being made. I've said this since I got on this committee. I'd like to have an alternative resources. So if you're looking for shutters, historically, wood is approved that you can't get wood. And that's what I would like to do research on for you.
I agree.
Yeah, I would like some mechanism so that if you get into a situation like this, that we have a mechanism where we can say, oh, okay, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, and then come back with a decision, rather than going obviously against the guidelines, which doesn't sit well with me.
Right.
So, but on the other hand, I understand you're doing an incredible amount of work on this house, and I appreciate it, and I just think that there's an element of discovery we have to do on the shutters.
And if you can hold tight, we're not saying no, we're just saying give them some time to research it. Because there could be an alternative product that we don't know about that's cost effective.
And we need justification for the decisions that we make.
Because we don't want to be put, like I said, between a rock and a hard
Right.
place. Because we don't want to say yes, but we don't want to say no.
But if there were a process where we could say,
Right.
okay, we're gonna look into this, go back to the people who wrote the guidelines, or have the authority, that kind of authority, and then come back and let you know.
Plus our
Does that make sense?
Our guidelines are 20 years old.
Yeah.
The book.
Yeah,
itself
every
is
meeting
20
we
years
seem to
old.
have the same discussion.
I was just reading one of the sentences and seeing how already in the guidelines as they stand, people are struggling with The wording is, even if the shutters are not operable, they should be sized to appear to cover the window if closed. It is,
Well, we'll get back to you on that. So I think
Okay.
we've covered the windows, the shutters,
For the
Siding
the
siding.
siding,
and the trim.
and the trim. So now we have
One more.
the soffit we discussed.
That was last meeting, I think.
What's on this application? Existing wood soffit with true exterior beadboard
Oh, okay.
and
This
replace
is
the porch.
The porch ceiling.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you, because I was like, stop it. Anyway, yes.
And this is where I saw the Dutch lap vinyl siding is on your brochure.
Dutch lap, okay.
True exterior. I was like, what are you using this for?
oh, is that the vinyl?
Yeah, that's interesting. See, the true exterior that I've been investigating is a wood composite. So that's my error, I guess, in having that as part of the brochure. My intention is to go with it's ash, it's a synthetic wood, but it is indeed a synthetic wood. And that just to keep the same sort of beadboard look. So that's the request. I've got some posts that I've got. The posts are made of that same sort of wood-like material. I could actually bring them in if the committee wanted to look at them. They look, smell, and feel like real wood to me.
I would like to say, I can't vote, but I'd like to touch and
Yeah,
feel it.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
There's the picture that you showed right there with your post,
Yes.
the middle right one. That looks like a vinyl post, but you're saying it's not.
Yeah, they're all, as far as I can tell, they're all wood.
Okay.
Like, in not very good shape. I could go get one right now and bring it down here.
what is that, the post?
Yeah, I've already got them. I mean, they were I bought them from Ed. So Ed had I wasn't getting out in front of the committee. I think Ed had intended to replace the post, and so he said, "Hey, do you want these?" And I said, "Sure."
Do you have a sample of the ceiling board?
I can get that. I don't. It's
It's not a Trex, is it? That type of Trex decking?
no. It's called. I get it from Wilson's. It's part of the True Exterior family. It's a composite board wood, but it's synthetic. It's supposed to last forever. I guess if I'm gonna bring you a sample of the posts, I can do that.
Yeah, composites are part wood.
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have any more comments before we move on to approve portions of this application this evening? Does anybody have anything or would like to put forth a first motion to move on this?
What was the first? The windows?
It was windows.
You want to handle them one at a time?
I think we should.
So it was first the windows and then the siding.
Let's see, I motion on application 2022-22 on the replacement of the front facade windows, that the proposed drawing of repositioning the windows and putting, I don't have it in front of me, 2 on the right side of the door and 1 on the left side of the door, all of the same size and materials that are designated in the proposal, which are wood. Gee, is that a motion?
2/2.
2/2.
Is there a second?
You're really asking for approval of what? 13 windows or 20 windows?
As many as the application said 15, and they'll all be the 2/2. They'll be exactly the same place, the same size, the same.
So with the
Material.
addition of the other windows the other windows on the building being replaced with similar size and material as the front facade windows.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. All right, so that's the windows. Next would be, I suppose, would be the siding. Who wants to make a motion on siding?
Your turn.
Mike, for the record, you can make motions too. I don't want you to think you
He
can't.
doesn't want to. He just wants to make sure
I'm
you
I'm pretending I'm Norman.
Just wanted to make sure you knew you could.
Norman made most of
Oh,
the
I
proposals.
know, yeah.
You're making us work. Okay, siding. Let's see. Trying to find where it says it in the thing. Motion to approve replacing the existing aluminum and wood siding with hardy plank 8.25 lap siding to all areas except the 2 gables. On the gables, there would be the shake style, not staggered though, it would be
Straight.
straight siding.
And if I may, 3 gables. I don't know where the
On 3 gables.
3 gables.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. We're going to table the shutters until we find out more on that. And
The material.
the material on the shutters, right, we're going to be tabling that.
And what about the beadboard and the post? Are we going to get more information on the material?
I didn't have any information on that, but I do have the beadboard. I have a explanation of the beadboard.
Is there a problem with approving the wood posts?
But they're not wood.
We want to know what they are. They're not wood, I don't think.
They're a wood particle, right?
Yeah, it's
Composite.
I call it synthetic. I think you're accurate.
Part wood, part reinforced.
They use wood ash and
Yeah.
wax and chemical, and I'm happy to bring a post back, and I'm happy to bring the beadboard back, because very candidly, the windows have to go first. So these other things, technically, I'm right up the street. I'm happy to bring them in.
Okay, so would it be prudent for the board to put the beadboard, the
Shutters.
the shutters and the
Post?
posts. Do we have to do the posts? Were they there when you moved there? Technically there?
Yeah, all the posts that you see are there now, yeah.
Were they there when you moved there? I mean,
Yes.
like they were in a garage or something?
Well, I'm requesting to replace the existing posts.
Okay.
The new ones are in the garage. That makes it
Okay.
easy for me to bring them in.
All right, so I guess we're done.
There was one
think-
more thing.
What did we miss?
Flagstone.
Yes.
Install flagstone over the top of the cement porch and stairs.
I'm struggling. What are we doing?
Flagstone.
Flagstone over the porch and stairs.
Oh, flagstone. Oh. Okay. We got any guidelines on that one?
I don't know.
Because the porch is a cement porch, just like my porch is a cement porch, which used to be wood.
Right? So it's not original materials. I'm just trying to find a picture.
Flagstone was on our neighbor's house, which was from about the 1898 area. And it had flagstone on it, on the steps and the walkway, which shows that they were using that stuff back then.
Yeah, and cement's definitely not original.
Well,
Definitely not.
Or
it's a way,
concrete, I should say.
it's a way to glue your flagstone down so they don't go somewhere.
I think that the house directly across the street from us, of course, they didn't change it, they just kept it. When they reconditioned that house, the stairs and the walls that support the stairs is all flagstone construction, and then the walkway from the porch to the front is flagstone.
Where's that?
Directly across the street from my house.
Oh, directly across.
It was the one that we just approved not too long ago, where the developer came in and made proposals for
Completely renovating it.
completely renovating the house.
It's
Okay.
the blue house that used to be
Yeah.
yellow.
Right.
So that was approved to put
I don't know
flagstone.
whether that's flagstone or fieldstone. It's just,
There's a difference.
yeah. I don't know.
Did you locate anything in your booklet on that flagstone, fieldstone,
In the
in the manual? I don't have the
in the
manual.
guidelines?
Yes, I don't have that on my computer.
Well, we know that the concrete is not original,
No.
so I would say that putting historic material on concrete is better than having concrete.
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
Yeah.
definitely not historic. Does anybody have an opinion on that?
Well, you have to glue it down somehow.
Right.
You just can't throw it down and expect it to stay there.
Well, there is a picture of the proposed flagstone.
I didn't see that.
It's on that series of pictures. It's on the bottom.
When you're done fixing up your house, you can come to my house and fix it up.
I was thinking the same thing.
You see it?
No, I don't.
It's on the TVs.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there it is. Wow,
Oh, okay.
it's magic.
I know this sounds like a backwards way of saying this, but I don't see the basis of objecting.
Of the what?
I don't see the basis for us objecting to the use.
I don't
of
either,
the-
because it's, right now, it's so inaccurate.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm okay with it.
Okay, if you want to make a motion, either,
I am not making another motion.
oh, come on.
Well, just give me the.
I'm tired.
Give me the number again for the.
It's number
2022-22.
2022-22.
Okay, as for the project, before us for 2022-22, I move that we approve the use of flagstone as a covering for the cement porches. And is it just the front or the back too?
It's both, it's the front
Front
and
and the
side,
back.
yeah.
Porches.
Looks good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion to approve the flagstone as mentioned. All right.
Did you have that in an application? I didn't see the application for the flagstone.
It's in the,
It's in the notes,
like the
the staff
work
report.
detail.
Okay.
So I put porch, and with the porch, there were the columns, the beadboard, and the flagstone.
Okay.
It's in the staff report, that's why I assumed it was in the application.
Yeah, I saw it in there and it's hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I look at, I look at the,
I just want to make sure that it's in writing.
Yes, we have it in writing.
Okay,
did we get everything?
I think we hit everything.
So we're on hold for the
Shutters,
porch ceiling, the usable shutters, and the wood posts.
yes, sir.
Yes.
So the things that I owe the committee are the materials
Yeah.
for the post and the beadboard, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then you
And
guys.
it's up to us to do the research on
The shutters.
acceptable material for
Mhm.
shutters.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you for your time. You're up there a good while.
What's that? You gonna wear the windows tonight?
Okay, folks, is there anything else?
I do, real quick, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I will draw your attention to our TV screens, the small little ones that we have here. Down at the post office, they are repairing the stucco on the walls. There's a couple places where it's falling off. They will be power washing it, and then they will be repainting it. Very similar colors to what we have down there now, just cleaner and brighter and making it look a little better.
That building.
It'll look a lot nicer without the grime on the walls.
Yeah, I still like it.
The paint that they're using is supposed to be like preventative from that grime to help keep it nice and looking good as well. There's a couple other minor repairs that they've been doing down there. And then the inside will be repainted as well, similar to the outside colors. So just want to make sure y'all are not puking at these color choices.
Aye.
Excellent. There's also a
Sorry,
couple
pre-vote.
couple other minor work that's being done around town hall here. The porch, the little tiny porch right out this fire exit, has been repaired with all wood because it was falling apart, and if you ran through there during a fire, you would probably die. And there's going to be some minor repairs to the metal railings around the house, just at the bottom where it's being eaten away by rust. They're going to secure it better to the cement so it doesn't fall over. And paint, yes. Paint the railings, not the townhouse.
I assume this is for information only, right?
Yes. But main thing was the colors, that y'all weren't having adverse reactions to them right away.
Oh, later is okay, but right away is not.
Tomorrow, you can object all you want.
We don't have a purview over colors, do we?
We don't, but we wanted to bring this to you just to let you know, hey, by the way, we're painting. It's not gonna be bright purple or anything like that.
I miss the purple building.
I don't. Oh, and today is my last day
Mhm.
on Historic District Commission. I've enjoyed working with you guys, but
That's
I'm in the
great.
process of getting a new house, so
Uh,
busy, busy, busy. Hopefully.
So while we're on the air with the CMC, I'll say we do have openings on the commission. Volunteer positions, contact town, TOWN, at sykesville.net if you're interested. And also thank you, Jeannie, for working.
Appreciate your services and your wise wisdom, or your
I
wisdom.
hope my
that
wisdom
you-
is wise. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Certainly is a mental exercise for me.
Bring lots of years of experience with you. Thank you.
Yes, I do feel old, thank you.
Experience.
Yes,
Wisdom.
experience, many years of experience. I am now on Medicare, so that's happened this month.
There's probably 3 of us in here.
I'm actually happy because it really reduces our expenses for
Mhm.
healthcare, because my husband's plan
yeah.
was exorbitant and didn't cover anything either.
Right.
So I'm happy to be on that. He has to persevere for another year. Well, I'm not moving yet, but soon, hopefully.
Well, if you have time in between moving and now, if you have anything in the guidelines that you cannot stand,
I
and
will
want to
look
draw
at
our
that.
attention
I
to
think
it.
the clarity is the
clarity is
point
the
with
big
me.
one.
And also, I don't like winging it when we feel like there's something that's not doable. I don't like that, because it opens things up to other people that get on the committee and say, well, we should just do this. And if you go down that route, then, I mean, I was here when, I was on the council when there was a lot of argument about the historic district. Lots and lots of arguing. And if they had given in at that point in time, we would have no historic district. Because that was, people didn't like the guidelines. So there should be some wiggle room, but not enough to destroy what has been built and what actually makes people want to come downtown. So,
When I first came onto the committee, I don't know how long ago that was, but everything seemed to be clear cut, because you would send out the information about what we were doing, and I would look in my little book and say, okay, that's good, this isn't good. But things have changed over these past
People
several
have come
years.
forward with like amazing advances in the different
Yeah.
materials.
yeah.
Even
Well,
in just the 5-6 years that I've been here.
Mhm.
One of my joys is reading and following This Old House. And one of the realities that I have noticed over the years with This Old House is that they are just absolutely meticulous in historic preservation and the use of the most modern materials. I mean, their use of technology, the use of upgraded materials is just all over the place. And yet what they try to do is create an end product that is as historically accurate in terms of its appearance as they can. But they don't limit themselves to absolutely utilizing historic materials where modern materials that withstand weather and function better in terms of structure and those kinds of things are available to them. Why not use them? You know, and that's
Yeah.
sort of like that's
Well, that's the debate.
yeah.
That's the
well,
whole debate, and I think that if you're gonna, a lot of the materials that were used before were used because that's what they had to use, and they're not durable, or they require an extraordinary amount of maintenance. So I
Yeah.
think those are issues that all historic districts are gonna have to grapple with. And the fact that wood is so hideously expensive right now, it didn't used to be like that. So
Exactly.
now you've got a situation where people will just not do anything, because if they touch the house, then they're gonna have to spend money that they don't wanna spend.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do they call that? Some kind of neglect?
Catch-22.
Demolition by neglect.
Demolition by neglect. Yep.
Yeah, and sometimes it's both material and artisans. And shutters are a case in point. There's new technology of how you create shutters. And if you were to try to recreate old wooden shutters, there's hardly anybody around who has the skill even to do that. And you combine the material with the lack of the ability to have it be accomplished, and you're into either a salvage market or exorbitant prices. And I think those are the kinds of things that we just have to.
And the labor's so expensive. My friend built a house in China, and it was a 3-story house with a handmade wooden balcony and a curving staircase. They did it all by hand because labor's cheap. So around here, nobody would be able to touch something like that.
Yeah.
Plus, a lot of people don't want to work with older materials. They'd rather use new stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be change coming in the historic realm as we move forward, but all I have right now is the guidelines.
We do have, isn't Kevin working on a grant to get our historic?
Yes, we were awarded the grant. He is working through the process of like next steps for the grant people, and then we can start using the funding to update or even get new guidelines.
That'll be great.
Yeah, and then maybe we can, while the professionals are updating that, we can ask them if they have recommendations on alternative products that can be used historically. That way, somebody needs shutters, they can say, okay, well, you can use shutters that are made out of this, this, and this, and they're acceptable.
Yeah, to give some clarity to people fixing up their homes. And again, I applaud you on the work you're doing on that house. It's just incredible. I love the
Doing a tremendous
materials.
job.
It's going to look great.
Thank you.
All right, Mr.
Okay.
Chairperson.
All righty, it's like almost 8:45. Does anybody have anything else? If not, we'll declare this meeting closed.
Thank you.
All right,
Yes.
that's my favorite thing to vote on.
Can I get an actual?